This video is a review of material for the Unit 8 Quiz 2 on trapezoids and kites. So, in the first question, A, B, C, D is a trapezoid, solve for X and Y. So, because it's only a trapezoid, we don't know if we have congruent base angles, but we do know that one angle from each base needs to be supplementary. So, we have 3x plus 8 plus 5x plus 12 is equal to 180. So, we combine like terms, we get 8x plus 4 is equal to 180. We can subtract 4 on both sides, and we get 8x equals 176 when we divide by 8. X is 22. Now, we can do the same thing to solve for y, because it's one angle from each base, so they need to be supplementary. So we have 10y plus 14y minus 12 is equal to 180. So we can combine our x's together, and we get 24, or we can go on our y, so we get 24y minus 12 is equal to 180. Add 12 to both sides, 24y is equal to 192. When we divide, y is 8. In number 3, DEFG is an isosceles trapezoid, solve for x and find all measures. So if it's an isosceles trapezoid, that means the base angles from each base are congruent. So 10x is equal to 11x minus 10. So we get negative 1x equal to negative 10. So x is 10. Then to find our angle measurements, we can substitute in. So we get 100 degrees, 5 times 10 plus 30 is 80 degrees. And because D and G are congruent, G is also 80 degrees. In number 3, RSTU is a trapezoid. Is RSTU also an isosceles trapezoid? So right now, we don't know if it's an isosceles trapezoid. We just know it's a regular trapezoid. So we're going to have to use one angle from each base to be supplementary. 2x plus 47 plus 6x plus 21 is equal to 180. So when we combine like terms, we get 8x plus 68 is equal to 180. We can subtract 68 from both sides. 8x is equal to 112. So when we divide by 8, x is 14. So to figure out if it's isosceles or not, we need to look at T and S and see if they are congruent. So 6 times 14 plus 21 is 105. 10 times 14 minus 35 is also 105, which means that we have congruent base angles. 2 times 14 plus 47 is 75 degrees, and R would also have to be 75 degrees because these angles are supplementary. So, is RSTU an isosceles trapezoid? Yes, because both sets of base angles are congruent. Number 4, BE is a midsegment of a trapezoid, solve for x and y. So if it's a midsegment, that means that B and E are midpoints, dividing that side into two congruent parts. So to solve for y, 3y is equal to 6, y is 2. To solve for x, we know that our midsegment, 2x minus 2, is equal to 1/2 the sum of the bases. So we get 2x minus 2 is equal to 1/2 of 42. 2x minus 2 is equal to 21. So we get 2x equals 23. When we divide by 2, we get that x is 11.5. In number 5, again, B and E are midsegments. So the sides are bisected equally. So we have 5y minus 2 is equal to 23. We get 5y equals 25, so y is 5. To find our midsegment is 3x plus 9 equals 1/2 of 2x plus 9x minus 2. So we get 3x plus 9 is equal to 1/2 of 11x minus 2. Because there's an odd number in the parentheses, I'm going to multiply both sides by 2, so it cancels out with the half on the one side. And we double the other side, so we get 6x plus 18 is equal to 11x minus 2. So when we move our variable over, we get 5x minus 2 is equal to 18. Add 2 to both sides, 5x equals 20. So we divide by 5, x is 4. Number 6, AC is 12x minus 9. BE is 4x plus 20. And ED is 6x plus 12 plus 7. 6x plus 7. AB is 4y plus 2, and CD is 7y minus 7. So in a trapezoid, our diagonals are congruent. So we know that this whole diagonal of AC is 12x minus 9. So we have 12x minus 9 equals. The other diagonal is broken into two pieces. So together they're going to equal AC. So we have 4x plus 20 plus 6x plus 7. So we get 12x minus 9 is equal to 10x plus 27. So we can move the variable to one side. So 2x minus 9 is equal to 27. Add 9 to both sides. 2x equals 36. We divide, x is 18. Then to get y, we know that our legs are congruent. So 4y plus 2 is equal to 7y minus 7. So we get 3y equals 9. Y is 3. KITE is a kite. Find the missing angle measures. So the first angle that we need to find is KIT. And we then also need to find KET. So in a kite, we know that between the different diagonals, those angles are congruent. So if I have my two angle measurements, I can do 360 minus the other two angles I already know and divide that by 2 to equally split it between the two angles. So 360 minus 72 minus 24 is 264. When we divide that by 2, we get 132 degrees. So both of these angles would be 132 degrees. Now, in number 8, it's a little bit trickier because we have the diagonals drawn in. So TIK is bisected by the longer diagonal, and if the angle is 50 degrees, that's bisected into 25 and 25. EIT is 75 degrees. We also know that when the diagonals are drawn in, we have perpendicular lines. So if I know I have a 25 and a 90 degree angle, I can subtract those from 180 to get that my missing angle is 65 in both triangles. I also know the longer diagonal bisected E. So if I do 180 minus 90 minus 75, both of those angles are 15, so this other missing angle must be 75. Because even though T and I are not bisected, the angles on the same side of the diagonal must be congruent. So the first angle we want to find is TES. So TES has an angle measure of 15 degrees. Then we want to find KIE. So it's both of those angles together. So 75 plus 65 would be 140 degrees. Angle ISK is where the lines are perpendicular, so that is 90 degrees. And our last angle, KTS, which is 65 degrees. Number 9, Cubs is a kite with US as the short diagonal. So if US is a shorter diagonal, that means that diagonal is bisected into two congruent parts, so both parts are 12. So we need to find CB, US, and the perimeter. So we know that US then is 12 plus 12, which is 24. So to find CB, we know part of it is 5, but we need to know the other part. So I can use this triangle with Pythagorean theorem because our diagonals are perpendicular. So when we do that, 37 squared equals 12 squared plus x squared. So we get 1,369 is equal to 144 plus x squared, We can subtract 144 from both sides. X squared equals 1,225. So when we take the square root, X is 35. So if this length is 35, 5 plus 35 gets us a diagonal of 40. Then in a kite, we know that our sides are, we have two sets of congruent sides that are next to each other. So 37 and 37. To find the missing side, we need to do Pythagorean theorem again. So we can do y squared equals 5 squared plus 12 squared. Y squared equals 169. So y is 13. So CB, CU, and CS is both 13. So to get our perimeter, we have 13 plus 13 plus 37 plus 37, which gets us 100. The last part, we want to know sometimes, always, never in these questions. So in a kite, one diagonal is bisected. Well, this is a property because remember the shorter diagonal is bisected, so this is going to always be true. In a trapezoid, the diagonals are congruent. This only happens if we have an isosceles trapezoid, not just a regular trapezoid, so this is sometimes. A trapezoid is a parallelogram. So remember, in a trapezoid, we have one set of parallel sides, while in a trapezoid, we have two sets, so this was never going to be true. And our last one, in a kite, one set of sides is parallel. Remember the difference between a kite and all the other branches of our different quadrilaterals is that they have parallel sides. Well, kites have zero parallel sides, so this is also a never.